Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Megan Stout, the Online Marketing Coordinator here at Hannafin Marketing. Today we are going to be talking about cutting-edge PPC, 8 new techniques for 2013. Just as a reminder, we will have a little bit of time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A. I'm going to toss it on over to Jeff Allen and Dave Rossborough to start the webinar.
Hello, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jeff Allen, the Director of Paid Search at Hannafin Marketing. I'm the first ugly mug staring at the first slide. I've been doing internet marketing since Outdoor invented the internet. That's a little known fact about myself. And I started about a year and a half ago, and I really enjoyed it. So I appreciate you guys joining us. I'm going to let Dave talk a little bit about himself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Hi everybody, as Jeff mentioned, my name's Dave Rossborough. I am the second of the ugly mugs you get the pleasure of staring at. Let's see, so I'm an account manager at Hannafin Marketing, also a writer for PPC Hero. I manage about 200,000 plus in clients' PPC spend per month, and I also have quite a bit of experience in the automotive equipment, clothing, supplement verticals, and more.
Hey, thanks, Dave. So we're going to take a look here just at the agenda real briefly so we're all on the same page. We're going to start with a couple quick polls. We use this information just to help Dave and I tailor the presentation a little bit based on the level of experience people have and kind of what people want to hear the most about on the webinar today. And then we're going to jump into our 8 tips. So Dave's going to talk about remarketing expansion, remarketing and search, automation, and segmentation. And I'm going to talk about scripts, top-performing campaigns, a little bit about pivot tables, one of our coworkers, Sean Quadlin's favorite topic, and the one trick that leads to flawless account management. So make sure you stay into the end for that. And then we'll do a quick summary, another live poll just to wrap things up, and we'll open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions during the webinar, you can chat them over, and we'll make sure to address as many of them at the end as we possibly can. So I'm going to let Dave go ahead and...
So those of you following along today have the option to take part in the live blogging happening on Twitter. Just be sure to include the cutting edge PPC hashtag in your tweets. So to kick things off, we'd like to start with a couple live poll questions. Live poll question 1. In your opinion, which PPC strategy is going to become most valuable to your business as we move into 2013?
So please take a minute to just fill it out. We'll wait a second so everyone has a chance to complete the response. I'm interested to see for you, Dave, for remarketing, automation, PLAs, attribution funnels, which one of those do you think is going to be the biggest one to hit in 2013?
You know, I feel like with remarketing for search on the horizon, you know, of course it's in beta currently, but you know, I think that's going to become a huge player in the game as we move further into 2013 and begin to learn more about it. So, how about yourself? What do you think?
I think that's absolutely true. I also think some of the cool things analytics is doing with attribution modeling I think that's still in beta as well. But that's been a really cool feature for a lot of our clients to be able to tell in analytics better where clicks are leading to brand conversions, all those kind of things. So I think that was pretty big in 2012, but it's going to become easier and more accessible for everyone in 2013. So I think that we probably concluded the poll results here. So we'll go on, let everyone stare at that for a minute. It looks like attribution funnels is the top one that people think is going to be biggest, and then followed by remarketing. So makes sense, kind of along the lines of what Dave said. So moving on to the poll question number 2. How long have you been in PPC? So this question really helps us better understand how to tailor this. If there's a lot of people new, we can talk a little bit more high level. If there's a lot of people at the 2 to 3 year level or 5 or more, we may want to consider being a little more specific and advanced in our discussion today. So please take a minute just to fill that out. We'll give everyone a little bit of time here. I think for a lot of these topics, I wonder if Dave agrees the just started probably applies more than usual because we're talking about a lot of new topics, new tactics, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, we continue to learn more and more about these new tactics. You know, so it's you know, it's somewhat of an ongoing learning process of you know, as many of you already are well aware. So, just continuing to stay ahead of the game and just staying on top of everything, is really important thing in the industry.
Absolutely. So it looks like we have a lot of people in the 1 to 3 year range, but 25% over 5 years. That's I think a little higher than we normally see. So we'll do our best to tailor the content on a little bit more of the advanced side. And now we'll just let Dave get into his first 4 tips and take it away.
Okay, so to start things off, expanding your remarketing efforts is going to be important, at least in my opinion, as we move into 2013. Just as a refresher for those new to the game, remarketing is a feature that allows advertisers to reach people who have previously visited their website. So once this happens, visitors are added to your remarketing list and shown relevant ads when they visit other sites around the display network. So retargeting, in a nutshell, has many layers of complexity because you have to determine which pages to track and not to track. Essentially cultivating relevant audience pools against the tracked pages and the creative messaging that goes along with each respective pool. So remarketing has become an essential part of any PPC campaign due to its ability to increase conversion volume and generate higher ROI. So having said all that, how can we enhance remarketing volume and performance in 2013? Well, you could start by targeting users in all stages of the buying cycle. So I'm talking leveraging custom combinations, sending traffic back to specific pages based on initial interests. I've actually found that it's good to start with a small core group of audiences, maybe all visitors, converting visitors, and non-converting visitors. Jeff, what do you have any thoughts there?
I think as far as you mentioned converting users, my favorite technique there is to think through lead gen and through the sales cycle. And for a lot of B2B clients, people with a long sales cycle, is to target the actual converters in the remarketing campaign and feed them different messaging throughout the sales process. So if it's a 3-month sales process, kind of layering in messaging for the first month, the second month, and the third month to help make it a little easier on the salespeople, since we know they certainly appreciate that.
Definitely, definitely. And, just to piggyback off that, for e-commerce clients, you might even expand your core group to include lists for each product genre as well. So, another tactic, would be that we could create a separate campaign to remarket to users visiting your top performing placements. So as you know that, adding extra layers to your display network targeting ultimately narrows the overall reach that you have. So by creating this new campaign, can be an effective way to, kind of increase performance in that regard. So this ultimately, helps avoid restricting your current remarketing traffic, as I just mentioned. So just to make sure that you don't narrow your reach too much, something to keep in mind there. So you want to be sure to add an exclusion to the initial campaign for every managed placement you add to the new. That should kind of go without saying, just to help avoid cross-contamination when using multiple remarketing campaigns. Next on the list is segmenting your lists at the ad group level for increased control. So this is good for trying to limit each ad group to one audience or custom combination just for optimal control. I've even found that remarketing to my YouTube viewers has also been successful in some cases. So there's another idea there. Of course, you could always expand the membership duration as well. As Jeff mentioned, the different lengths of sales cycles. You can kind of tailor your membership duration to that in order to provide the optimal returns. So, and not only that, but, it can also help grow your audiences substantially. So just for an example, for one of my clients, I increased the membership duration from 30 to 35 days, and that was the difference between an extra, roughly 5,000 users in that particular pool. So another way to get more out of your remarketing is to incorporate both image and text ads. So as you probably already know, the display network is comprised with websites of all shapes and sizes. As a result, it's important to utilize every type and size of ad in order to maximize compatibility with these various websites. And lastly, on the remarketing expansion topic, leveraging just the overall campaign settings, So this can seem kind of mundane, but for successful remarketing campaigns, I've found that opting into accelerated delivery, particularly for branded efforts and maybe even the converters audience, you can definitely squeeze out a few extra leads that way. So the second of our 8 topics today is remarketing in search. So this is another cutting edge tactic that we feel is going to be really important and up and coming into 2013. So until now, remarketing has essentially been limited to the display network only, but that's changing. With Google's remarketing and search beta program, Google wants to take the benefits of traditional display remarketing and start integrating those into the SERP landscape. So essentially, you create remarketing lists just as you would with display, but instead use information from your search campaigns to influence your messaging and strategy. So remarketing and search ads work using the same cookie creation process as traditional display remarketing. First, you place the remarketing pixel on the page you want to retarget. Of course, users then enter your site and are then added to that respective targeting list. When that user returns to do a search for a keyword we are targeting, they will then be served an ad. So some benefits for using remarketing and search include just utilization of more broad keywords only on users that have entered the site before. So if a user has already been to your website, that user becomes pre-qualified in a sense, and therefore increases the chance that that user will convert in the long run. So some keywords are simply too broad when used alone, but this pre-qualification aspect helps those keywords become more effective. So you can also serve up more specific and tailored ad copy to users who have been to the site or a specific page within your site previously. If you know someone is searching for men's clothing on your website, for example, you can then use that knowledge to your advantage in order to create more tailored ad copy. So another benefit here is enhanced knowledge of customer search behavior for better decision making. Just knowing which users are more likely to convert into buyers will allow you to reach more of these users within the search results pages. With remarketing and search, advertisers will now be able to make better keyword bidding decisions based on customer intent alone. So it's recommended that your remarketing for search keyword bids be set higher than those in your search campaigns, and we'll discuss that a little later during the webinar. So another benefit here is you have the ability to choose the best landing pages for particular groups of users. So the landing pages you should choose also differ based on the search history of your customers ultimately. For example, if you know someone searched for women's running shoes on your site, remarketing and search provides the ability to target these users in the search results pages and cater a specific experience to them. So this can be effective for, you can then go and create a specific ad revolving around women's running shoes, and of course, send the traffic to a page that features women's running shoes. So one thing to keep in mind though with remarketing for search is that as with many things we do in PPC, we should build this out separately. So by creating a new campaign, just simply because your search remarketing campaigns will be targeting the same search results pages your search campaigns are targeting. So just something to be aware of there. Third is campaign automation and freeing up more time for innovation and expansion. We feel those are going to be important as we move into 2013 as well. So as PPC account managers, we are almost always pressed for time. This shouldn't be news to anyone, and if it is, you're probably not testing it enough. Due to our ever-increasing time constraints and distractions that come from launching these new initiatives, it becomes extremely easy to lose sight of the basics, and by basics, I'm talking CPA adjustments, first page bids, quality score breakouts, high spending keywords, etc. So just keeping those in mind and not losing sight of them. But fortunately, campaign automation, provides a great opportunity for us to, kind of streamline those seemingly mundane tasks.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And when we talk about campaign automation, I think some PPC account managers are concerned a little bit too much about this might replace me or this might make it so what I do is not as important. To me, it really shifts your focus from the routine tasks that have to get done and allows you to focus more on testing big picture things, focusing on bigger initiatives that can make a bigger impact, and rolling out things like the betas that you've talked about and things like that. So I think that's a big thing. Pure automation, and they think, oh, it's set it and forget it. But all it really does is free up account managers to focus on some of the more important things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially in an industry that's ever changing. It's very important to kind of stay ahead of the game, and there's you can only take so much without giving anything. So, kind of giving up those, mundane tasks, definitely helps in the long run. So, okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, AdWords offers up a nice solution to the time crunch issue. It can help free up time to tackle new initiatives, as we just discussed. So consider the frequent tasks you perform manually on a regular basis. Then it should be pretty easy to come up with a chunk of work that automation can essentially just take off your hands. So for example, scheduling ads for special sales and events, pausing underperforming ads and keywords, changing keyword bids to help target average positions, or even increasing bids to show ads on the first page. So all of those are examples of things that automation can handle for you. So to create a rule, simply click on the Automate button from any tab in the AdWords interface. Any rule can be reviewed under the Bulk Operations section of the left-hand nav or through the Automate drop-down window. So that navigation included in the drop-down is also very user-friendly, in my opinion, because it enables us to easily create rules for any campaign, ad group, keyword, or ad. So they're very, very versatile. Few popular rules include activating temporary campaigns and ads for promo events, as mentioned. You can change and alter keyword bids based on CPA and other performance metrics. You can also set up automatic email notifications to alert you when your budget runs out. So that can also be helpful and just one less thing to worry about on a monthly basis. So, in your opinion, Jeff, what are some of your favorite rules?
So I really like the send email when rule for various things. So I think you set to a number of impressions. When a number of impressions is met, or a number of cost is met, or something like that. And for me, it allows me to measure certain metrics like spikes in impressions. So I might set the rule to be 20% higher than a typical day of impressions would get. So I can get an email notification if there's an issue there. And then also the budget running out is significant. We had a client yesterday who had some big news stories, not necessarily about them, but about the industry, that spiked spend and fortunately spiked sales, which doesn't always come side by side. These kind of settings let you know if 11 o'clock in the day, 11 o'clock in the morning, you hit your budget when you normally don't. It's obviously a good reason to jump into the account and take a look and everything like that. So yeah, I think that's one of the best ones.
Excellent. Excellent. So in closing for this this third point, AdWords automated rules in most, if not all, third-party bidding platforms offer change history logs that can be particularly effective in keeping tabs on what was changed and when. So these can then be used to investigate performance slumps and ultimately help stabilize your accounts if things go awry. Okay, and let's see. The fourth point that I'd like to cover before I kick things over to Jeff concerns segmentation strategies. So, adopting these new segmentation strategies and adding more granularity can also be an effective way to get more out of your PPC accounts in 2013. In fact, the way you segment your campaigns and ad groups can have a huge impact on key metrics like conversion volume and CPA, for example. Each additional level of segmentation ultimately increases your control in the long run. You know, perhaps that is why this concept is particularly useful for larger accounts that drive a lot of volume and spend quickly. However, you need to be sure to strike a clean balance between the number of campaigns and budget. You don't want to create extra work for yourself or spread your budgets too thin, which can happen with smaller accounts using this strategy. So PPC campaigns can be segmented in several ways, many of which you may already know. So ultimately, each of these is going to add extra control in the long run. So you know, for example, we could segment by network, you know, so search, display, you know, maybe we even go as far as to segment out our search partner traffic. Maybe it's by device, you know, computers versus tablets versus mobile phones, you know, each of which could perform much differently than one another. Perhaps it's geographical location, you know, so country, state, city, region, province, whatever it may be. You know, oftentimes different locations are going to perform differently. So, you know, then again, there's, you know, top performers, you know, so moving top performing keywords to their own campaigns with dedicated budgets, demographics, you know, maybe a particular age group or gender, you know, on the display network performs better than, you know, than another group or, you know, gender. Or, you know, perhaps it's campaign type, display versus remarketing. You know, so obviously, you know, we don't want to combine, you know, a bunch of, you know, different campaign types into one. So just making sure that, you know, we have everything segmented in that regard. And then, of course, you know, day parting and, you know, much more. So, you know, very versatile. You know, that was definitely not a, you know, a conclusive list. There are several other segmentation strategies out there. In your opinion, Jeff, how, you know, what ways do you like to typically segment your campaigns and efforts?
So I think everything you mentioned here is important. I think there's also some, what was at least lesser known to me until the last little bit, is things like segmenting location targeting by physical location and intent, and not doing one or the other, but having one campaign that's physical location and one campaign being location of intent, and target those differently. A lot of times you'll find one has a drastically different CPA or CPL than the other one does, and you can change your bids appropriately. Or if it's a lead gen, you might find one has a much better quality of lead than another. Maybe people in the physical location have a much better lead quality than those who just have the intent or the interest of that location. And targeting them separately allows you to either cut one off, but do it based on data, or just bid them differently. Maybe that one's still valuable, but just half as valuable to you as the other ones are. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make, and you know, honestly, just goes to show that, you know, every minor detail and setting, you know, within the advertising interfaces, you know, be it AdWords, be it Bing Ads, so on and so forth. You know, each extra setting, you know, basically provides the opportunity for segmentation, because oftentimes, you know, with those settings come different performance characteristics, as, you know, Jeff mentioned. So yeah, I'm very glad you mentioned that. So in another example, I did a case study to learn how performance would be affected if I segmented my campaigns geographically in one of my accounts. After a 6-week testing period, I was able to decrease CPA by 43% and increase leads by 151% for one of my clients in the automotive equipment vertical. So results will almost always vary, but this performance gain is all because I had an extra layer of control over, the campaign targeting in those certain areas. So I can now make better bidding and budget decisions based on those top performing geolocations, since, as we mentioned, some areas are just simply going to have better conversion rates than others. So all things to be aware of. But yeah, so those were the first 4. I'm going to kick things over to Jeff now and let him walk through his.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Dave. So the first one I'm going to talk about is AdWords Scripts. And I'll preface that my tips probably require more reading afterwards than maybe I'll be able to answer in the webinar itself. But I want to touch on some things that we're discovering here at Hennepin, using more and more of this year and finding a lot of value in. So AdWords Scripts, anyone who reads PPC Hero probably in the last week has seen our kind of mini series on AdWords Scripts. Hopefully you've been able to dig into those. But it's something we've been using a lot. And they're just easy ways to automatically generate reports, specifically how we generally use them on keywords, ads, or even account performance trends. Some kind of scripts include ad performance review, keyword performance report, quality score tracker, changeover yesterday, which the changeover yesterday is my absolute favorite. So you can actually program it to say, if I saw whatever percent spike in impressions, so let's say a 20% spike of impressions yesterday over the day before, send me an email alerting me so I know that I need to check the account, and that's a metric I should look at. So you can look at it by impressions, cost, conversions, cost per conversion, click-through rate, any of those KPIs that you may want to consider, and get emails automatically sent to you so that when you sit down at your desk at, in my case, 6:30 in the morning, most people's case, 9 o'clock in the morning, you know exactly where you should start, which accounts are the most important, which metrics may be off the handle. So this is it's been in Google for a while. It's under the bulk operations button on the left-hand side under the shared library, and it's just called Scripts. So it's under automated rules. Just there, you can see it on the screen. And this is an example of what happens when you click it. So this is an account that we have several scripts set up for. You can see the button there to create a script. The script's all written in JavaScript, so it's certainly not for necessarily novices. This is something that you're going to want developers' help on, or in the case of ours, someone on the team who's really handy at it. But you can see the impression alert test. That was something we created to test what would happen if we were sending emails based on a spike in impressions day over day. You can run it manually by clicking the run button, or you can create a schedule for it. Right now it's scheduled to run, so I get an email at, I think, about 6:30 a.m. when I get in the morning. It will alert me of what's happening with that metric to make sure nothing went haywire. Keyword performance report, so that tells me average position, tells me quality score, conversions by quality score, impressions by quality score, and also puts together some charts and graphs that make it a little easier to digest the information, and something that you can send along to the client if you really needed it. So it exports the data into a Google Docs view that then you can download into Excel and send it over. Quality score tracker, this is something that solves a pretty frustrating thing for us around here, where it will download on whatever interval you set. So let's say once a month, it will download all your keywords and their quality score. And then you can set it on a schedule to do that every month, and every month it will add to that spreadsheet but show you the change for a specific keyword in that quality score. So if a keyword from one month turned to it from a 10 to a 7, you'll get a notification, or you'll see in a column that you lost 3 points there. Conversely, if it went from 7 to 10, you would obviously see the opposite. So it's a really cool way to do a running tally and make sure that the things you're doing on accounts are helping quality score and not hurting it, and you can track that performance over time. And the ad report can be customized in a lot of different ways. But it basically is going to tell you the top performing headlines or the top performing display URLs. You can do destination URLs, but it's going to automatically run the report for you. So if you're doing a lot of ad testing, you can run that report, see the results. Again, it puts some graphs and charts and something that you can export and kind of diagnose what's happening there. So there's obviously a lot to AdWords Scripts. So I put some resources in here to help point you in the right direction. This is definitely something that I think this is the start of the path. But there's a developers.google.com/AdWords/Scripts. That's a good, useful site. I believe they have some templates on there that will help you get started. That's kind of, I think, how we got started, was looking at some of those and customizing them. And then we have our 2 posts on PPC Hero, part 1, part 2, and I think a part 3 is going to come out soon. So if you just go to PPC Hero and scan through the most recent articles, you'll find a few things on scripts that explain it probably in much greater detail with some more examples than I can do here. But the basis is it's building a little bit on the automation that Dave talked about, but I use it a lot more for reports and things to guide strategy and everything like that. Is that how you see scripts being used, Dave? Or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I'd actually like to reiterate the importance of the quality score tracker. That's something, as Jeff mentioned, it's kind of really given us some trouble. Dare I say the PPC industry as a whole. Simply not having the ability to see some sort of report that shows are quality scores increasing? Are they decreasing? Obviously with larger accounts, this that becomes a process that you just simply can't keep track of the scores of that many keywords. So having the ability to see over time whether or not your changes are positively or negatively affecting your quality scores is going to be huge for something so important. Built right into the ad rank formula. So it's important to be aware of that.
Absolutely. So the next one's something that Dave actually talked about on his segmentation, which is top performer campaigns. So I put this new for 2013. I probably talked about it for about half of 2012, but I still don't maybe see as much of it as I'd like to see, which is taking the group of keywords you want to target, and if it's most impressions, most clicks, most conversions, best CPA, whatever the metric is, and group them into one campaign and watch it closely. So it's kind of the Warren Buffett approach of put your eggs in one basket and watch that basket closely. Helps you decide where to spend your time. It helps create better focus there, and I'll talk about it, makes it a little easier to test things. So this helps increase quality score, it helps drive more conversions, I found, and it helps create a better proving ground for ad tests and that kind of thing. So here's my pretty simple 5-step process for how to do it, just to explain it in a little more detail. So I usually start with the top 25 keywords. So for this example, let's say we're trying to improve quality score. So I find the top 25 keywords by impressions that also have a sub-7 quality score. I'm going to create a brand new account and name it top performer, whatever variation of the campaign I'm going to use, and then add 25 ad groups, so one ad group for every keyword. So this is, I feel like, a pretty important step, is it's one keyword per ad group, and then write hyper-specific ad copy for each ad group. So this is where you get a big bump in quality score a lot of times, because you can write more relevant ads that, one, score higher for relevancy, but also for expected click-through rate. And then my recommendation would be, for the 2 weeks after breaking out this top performer campaign, spend 80% of your time working on the top performer campaign, writing new ad copy. If usually you're going to find most of these are going to be maybe exact match a lot of times, but if they're broad match, say in this case if you're working on impressions, then you can add more negative keywords and that kind of thing. And you're really going to work on the 25 keywords that are going to drive most of the effect in the account for you. So this is an example, just to back up what I'm saying a little bit here. So this was 2 30-day periods, 30-day before a breakout and the 30-day after. The top line is the after. The bottom is I had to do a bunch of filters, obviously, to find those top 25 keywords and have them all reported in one place. And so that's what you see at the bottom. You see that the top performer campaign after the breakout had a much higher CPA, but in the case of this client, the goal here was volume. So CPA wasn't it. It was how many more conversions could we get. So you can see 143 conversions compared to 77 conversions before the breakout. You can also see the the click-through rate went from 2.74% up to 4.76%. And that came from really doing a hard focus on ad copy and negative keywords and everything like that through the process. So you can see again that the CPA rose significantly, but the spend went up significantly in the conversions, which was really goal here, was top line volume. So you get a good lift by breaking those campaigns out and focusing breaking those keywords out and focusing on really the top 25 that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Pivot table grouping. So for a lot of you, this, especially with the 5+ years of experience in PPC, this is probably nothing new. For me, it's something I only learned about 6 months ago, and I used to do things a lot harder. But the grouping allows you to view, instead of, say, viewing the average position by every possible average position, so 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, it allows you to group them in increments. So you just right-click on the row in your pivot table of data that you want to group, go to the group and outline, hit group, and then you can start at, end at, and do your incremental grouping. So for this, we're going to look at average position, but it was by 0.25. So I wanted to look at average position by a quarter of position to see what kind of effect that it had on primary metrics. And you can see if you did it in a spreadsheet now, the row labels have been grouped, so you see 1 to 1.25, 1.25 to 1.5, and so on and so forth. And now you can see all the impressions in that group, all the clicks in that group, and obviously you can extend it to see conversions in that, click-through rate, and all the different metrics you'd want to see, and throw some graphs together that show you not just average position by every single average position, but about a range of average position, which is usually more helpful because it's harder to target a position of 1.2 than it is between a 1 and a 1.25. So this just kind of gives you an idea of after grouping what you can see. So this is click-through rate by average position. You can see a huge click-through rate increase around the 3.5 to 4 range. Part of that may be because top-performing keywords might drive a lot of clicks, but not necessarily a lot of conversions, so they get kind of bid down through the page. But it's certainly an anomaly on this page that you'd want to consider. And then you can see being in an ad position of 4 to 5.25 really becomes useless. The click-through rate is so bad that's probably something that's going to hurt quality score, which is going to have an impact on the rest of the account. And it tells me if I'm down there, I might want to consider chopping those keywords or checking out a lower average position, because actually on the lower end, the click-through rate goes back up, or a higher average position. So it's going to give me some guidance on what kind of tests to run and where to really focus my efforts. And so other grouping options, you can group by quality score. So you can group by quality score 1 to 3, and then 4 to 7, and 8 to 10, and see how the different performance metrics vary for those different ranges. Click-through rate, conversion rate, cost per acquisition, cost per click. Basically anywhere there's going to be a lot of variance in the numbers, but you're looking for trends, if you group that row, you're going to be able to tell a lot more data about the groupings, such as impressions by average position as shown here. You can see that the 1 to 175, there's a lot of impressions that I can that makes sense because it's a high average position. But if I know based on the past graph that maybe I don't perform that well at that high of a level, I'm actually driving the wrong type of impression. So it just kind of informs where to start testing, things to cut, and everything like that.
So yeah, I think those are all great points to cover there. And just one quick thing to add there is you can also group date ranges, so on and so forth, which can be effective for looking at let's say week over week performance. That tends to help us with a lot of our accounts, just looking at weekly trends, daily trends, and maybe even monthly trends. So you can there's quite a bit of versatility when it comes to these grouping options. So would definitely encourage you guys to kind of experiment and play around with those on your own time.
Yeah, the date range one's a good catch. I use that one quite a bit, and it helps. So number 8 was the one I promised. The one trick that leads to flawless account management. This may just be the kick of the week I'm on, but this book by Sean Aker, The Happiness Advantage, is an absolutely brilliant book talking about be happy, make less mistakes, enjoy the work you do more, think of more creative solutions and everything like that. So PPC gives us the wonderful opportunity to fail pretty much every day. Most of our tests, or at least half of our tests, are probably not going to work, and we kind of know that going into it. Hopefully, of course, we're going to learn something, but at the end of the day, it may be a failed test, and it's going to be something you're going to stop doing. So the account managers who make the least number of mistakes, who are the most resilient, and who are the thought leaders in the industry are those who are most happy. They're the ones that have found joy in that, who can learn something, even if it's not something maybe they wanted to learn, like in a lower average position, kills sales volume, so you can't do that. It's not necessarily exciting news, but people who really absorb that information are the people that are the happiest and enjoy their work more. So a lot of this book, and I really do recommend that you go out and buy it and read it, is talking about how to prime yourself before doing whatever. So how to prime yourself for happiness before working on accounts, how to put yourself in the right mindset before you approach your account so you don't go in there and haphazardly do something or do something out of frustration or something like that. So a couple tips are take 5 minutes and meditate. Just breathe, just relax, just not think about PPC for a minute. This is specifically useful if you get off a bad phone call or you've had a bad month or a bad week and you need to course correct. Take a walk around the building, the block, your house, your office, whatever you have there. But just get out, releases endorphins, getting up and moving around, but it also helps clear your head. And a couple other ones that I think help put you in the right frame of mind, which is not necessarily looking for mistakes or problems, but looking for good things, is audit an account that's been doing really well. So don't just look at the ones that are doing bad. Audit a campaign or a test you've done or an account that you're working on that's doing well and try to learn key insights from that. So train yourself to look for the good things sometimes. Sometimes that's helpful. And also work on someone else's account for a half hour or an hour. You're probably going to be a little nicer to them. You're probably going to be more congratulatory to them or complimentary towards the things they're doing. And again, it's going to put you in a little bit better mindset when you approach your account. You're not going to be so critical of the work you're doing. So those are my 8 tips. I think Dave's going to wrap up a summary here, and then we'll have a final poll and take some questions.
Yeah, so we covered a lot today, all of which can help us stay ahead of the game in 2013, including focusing efforts on remarketing, automation, and segmentation, utilizing available AdWords scripts. Simply, they're just great for saving time. Driving more conversions with top performer campaigns, and better understanding and grouping our data through pivot tables. And then, of course, taking a look at Sean Akers' book, The Happiness Advantage. So, in closing, we have one last poll question for those of you following along today. So, we'll kick it over to that now.
All right, so the question is, what we have exclusive awesome for our webinars attendees, and we would just like to know which of these are the most intriguing to you, which of these are the most interesting. Obviously, this helps us do a little bit of market research as well as we're doing this. So. Option A is Free Solutions Blueprint with Hennepin Marketing. This is for existing accounts that are currently spending $15,000 or more. So this is partly just aimed at who out there is in active accounts spending $15,000 or more. And B is Free Market Reach Analysis with Hennepin. And those are for people who don't have a PPC account and that really have a budget, say $10,000 to start. Really getting in there. They're just kind of starting to dip their toes in the PPC and figure out what's going to work for them and want some assistance with those. So those are our 2 poll questions. I imagine with 5+ years of experience being so high on that, there's probably going to be a lot of people in category A for us. So we're going to let Megan wrap up really quickly here, and then we're going to take some questions that have come in.
Great. Well, thanks, Jeff. First of all, just thank you to everybody who joined us today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. And as a free but mighty gift, we have a HeroConf code. So if you're planning on going to HeroConf, you can just log on, and through your registration, if you type in webinar_HC, you can save $100 on your HeroConf registration. For those of you who don't know what HeroConf is Hennepin Marketing's 100% PPC conference. We are going to be in Austin, Texas this year from April 8th through the 10th. We've also got a link here for our Solutions Blueprint. If you want to submit your content directly to us through our website, you can use this link here. And as always, if you want to have a conversation or have some questions for Jeff or Dave, feel free to reach out through email. All right, Jeff, you have some questions to go with here?
Yeah, so a couple of questions from the audience here. So number one, what do you do if you create a top performer campaign, but it spends without converting? So yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad whoever asked this did. Yeah, so if it were me, I would definitely utilize all of the exclusion tactics that I possibly could. So maybe it's transferring the the negatives that you already had running in your in the campaign that you pulled those top performers from. That can kind of help cut out some of the excess spend. of course, looking for new negative opportunities, and then just just having better control over the bids themselves, can be particularly effective. So, it's even though it's a top performer, maybe it isn't ideal to jack up the bid on that particular keyword and have it in position one. But maybe it's would be better off to target a lower position, say somewhere between 3 and 4. They can still drive traffic, but at a much lesser cost. And also kind of help cut out some of that excess spend in that way. So there are a few things you can do there, but that's a great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there's probably always you always need an escape route, right? So I would say even make sure that you download, say, out of editor, you do a campaign export, because there are times when we talk about half the tests you run aren't going to work. And so I've seen this typically work, but there are times when it doesn't. There's times when we do everything. Like the most frustrating thing I think we all experience is when we do best practices and it performs worse. So making sure you download the account so that you can do a quick reset if something doesn't work, I think is important. We also got a question on where can we see the quality score tracker in AdWords. I'm doing this comparison manually. Certainly something very frustrating. You actually have to set up the script. And so again, if you go to PPC Hero, there's a whole blog post on setting up scripts. The quality score one is one that Google has actually created for us, and so it's pretty easy to find. You can also go to that developer's URL that's in the slide deck and find that there. So it's not an actual function in AdWords yet, although hopefully sometime soon they'll add it in there. It's something that's easy and you don't have to do any coding or setting up scripts. But right now it's a script that requires a little bit of a process to get set up. Another quick question, and really quick, so we had a lot of questions on this webinar. The answers, any unanswered questions, will be posted to PPC Hero with explanations. So we will go through and make sure we have time to answer everyone's questions. But we'll just pick a few more here. So one question that we got was, what's the difference between intent versus location targeting? Was something I talked about. It's the difference. It's a location targeting between physical location and intent-based location. So physical location means if I'm targeting New York and I'm targeting my physical location, the only people that are going to see the ad are people who are in New York. If I do it by interest, it could be people all over who have an interest in New York. So it's the difference between someone typing hotel in New York, they're going to get a lot of New York-based hotel offers. But if I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, which I am, and I type hotels in New York, I'm going to get hotels in New York based on my interest location, if that makes sense. So that's really the difference there. I think we probably have about one more time for about one more question, so I'll let Dave take it away.
Okay, so this one says, is it uncommon to be given free rein to spend until I drop if ROAS stays steady? So in most cases, that's what I like to refer to as, a dream account. No real spend threshold. If you're hitting goals, the sky's the limit. So, I really think, those are kind of a dime a dozen. But, if you do have the opportunity to work with a client that, or, for a particular business that, does offer the opportunity to, basically no budget cap whatsoever. As long as those goals are consistent, I would say, why not shoot for the stars. So yeah.
Perfect.
You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, is it uncommon? I would say it's uncommon to maybe not have a cap at all. Certainly because most companies are trying to budget, so that money has to come from somewhere. They don't just necessarily have the money on hand, they don't have the cash flow to handle the increase. So I would say it's somewhat uncommon, although usually there's a buffer there. Usually it's obvious you can go 10, 15, 20% over any kind of budget if ROAS is being met. So uncommon, yes, but it certainly happens and recommended if you're hitting the goals. Why not allocate more budget to the channel? So I think that's it for the questions that we have time to answer today. Like we said, they'll be posted to PPC Hero. You can also reach out to Dave and I directly. Our email address is on the screen, but it's just jeff.allen@hannapinmarketing.com and dave.rossborough@hannapinmarketing.com. Anyone wants to shoot us any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And I think that's it. We want to thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate your time and listening to Dave and I ramble on about what we think is going to be hot in 2013. So hope to have you guys all on our next webinar.